Hey guys, welcome back to Following the Dopamine with Tasha. So today we are building a survival shelter. Imagine that. Hey, one of my most favorite things to build. And these are my measurements, my base size, first, second, and third level basic measurements. Why? Because sometimes you guys ask, and my chicken scratch was illegible. So here we are, just cutting all of our basic measurements out of our, Amazon Prime cardboard box. Now we're doing our windows. Look, this ended up being a really, really long build and an even longer video to edit. And when I first started, I had like 3 hours of video, so I had to cut a lot out, guys. And I don't like separating them, doing like a part 1 and part 2, because it's not as fulfilling. So I decided just to cut a bunch of stuff out, give you the basic idea, and show you the build. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so here we are. We're trimming out our windows and our doors like we usually do, and I'm just using some soft balsa wood, which is my favorite thing in the entire world. And I just cut all of my little pieces by hand. And I'm not measuring anything. I'm holding it up there, marking it with a pencil, and cutting it and gluing it. That's what I did. Yep. So there's all of our walls for the second and third levels. Now we're going to work on our base. Our base is going to be like an old stone building. So here we are. We're using the squishy finger technique. Now we are texturing, adding some rock texture to our super thin foam. So guys, I got a foam cutter. I mean, most of you already know that, but for those of you who might be new, maybe, I don't know. I'm just letting you know I got a foam cutter, and I like to cut super thin sheets of foam. And I use them for, basic textures, stone, wood, whatever I can. It makes life really easy, okay? Instead of building your bricks and your stones, stone by stone, you can just, draw it and fake it. So that's what we're doing. That's a door, though. That's not stone. That's like an old... So the base of this shelter, and we're calling it a shelter because I'm not really sure what else to call it. Okay, an off-the-grid. It could be maybe just an off-the-grid house. It doesn't have to be a shelter. But I mean, all houses are shelters. So I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. Point is, so the base of this is meant to look like an old abandoned water mill. Mill? I don't know if they're all mills. I don't know. But it's like an old abandoned water wheel connected to stone out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And then somebody comes along and decides to turn it into a house, okay? Maybe they're fed up with living too close to town, or they just want to be off-grid. We've all been there. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, all right, so that's enough of that. Let's get back to the build. All right, so here we are. We are creating our stone texture, first with our razor, and then we'll go back with our pencil and kind of pull it all together, all right? So that's what we're doing. Yep. And then we're going to take some tin foil and we're going to, tin foil the crap out of it and make it look rough and stony. And later I'll go back and add some Mod Podge and water to kind of hold that texture together. We're also going to add a nice little stone trim that goes all the way around the door too. Yeah. Yeah. And I come back later and I tinfoil that as well to add some texture. All right, now where are we at? Okay, so we are going to trim out our windows. Now there's gonna be an internal and an external to this building because I wanted to add lights, and y'all know anytime I add lights, I feel like there's gotta be something on the inside to look at. And I do make a bunch of tiny little furniture that I don't show you. I'm sorry, I had to edit something out. Yeah, so here we're working on the internal walls, all right? So we got all of our trim put up for our windows and our doors, and now we're gonna add the wall texture. We're basically just gonna go with that super thin foam, and we're gonna turn it into like that old school wall paneling. I did the same thing on that treehouse build that I did a while ago. It was so easy, super simple, takes up very small amount of space, and yeah, I'm lazy, so I do whatever is quickest and easiest, and that's what I did. So we're gonna go through and we're gonna take a razor blade, kind of create that wood texture there. Well, not wood texture, just, like the individual wood. Anyways, now we're creating texture with my scratchy tool. And you can't see it real well now, but when I paint it, you'll see it. I promise you. Okay, so that's all done. Now I think it's time for some Mod Podge water. Maybe? Let's see. Yes, I am correct. All right, so we're going to use a little Mod Podge and a little bit of water. Actually, it's like, I don't know, 75% Mod Podge, and then the rest is like water. Anyway, so you just go over all of your stone, all of your foam, really, anything foam. Because it kind of just holds that texture together. Yeah, makes it more like concrete. Yeah. So now all that's dry. We're painting. We're painting it brown because it's my favorite color. I like to use brown as a base because it's warm and it's dark. So there's that. Now we're going to do our windows. Absolutely. I saved all of my cutouts because I'm a professional. And then you just go back and you do that, and then you cut them all out, and you have the exact amount of windows at the exact sizes that you need, right? Yeah. Now I'm just using a little bit of tacky glue with a toothpick, because you don't want to put too much glue on there, because if you put too much glue on it, then it smears all over the window, and then it's just not a clear window. It's like hazy, like my windows here at the house, because they're dirty and I haven't cleaned them. I don't even remember the last time. Who washes their windows? Like literally, who washes windows? I don't. All right, just don't know why I felt like telling you that. But so yeah, now we're painting because, like I said, the Mod Podge water is dry. It's now concrete, and we painted the stones those colors because I wanted to. And we painted the door brown. Well, it's more, it's very burnt sienna brown. Okay, because that's a color. And so now we're going to make our water wheel. And because I suck at circles, I have to use something to get a perfect circle. So that's what I'm using. Yeah, and it actually turned out to be like the perfect size. So yeah, use that, cut that out. And then we did all those lines because I was hoping that would help make it my middle circle perfect. But it's close enough. You know what? I am an imperfectionist. And I'm okay with that. All right. So now we're gonna add some texture. Yeah, we're gonna use that wire brushy thingy to just reiterate. That's a good word. I think that'll be our word for today. Reiterate. Yes. And now these are the the little paddles. I'm gonna call them paddles. They go inside of the water wheel and they paddle the water. I think they're actually supposed to be like buckets, but mine aren't buckets. Okay, there's no back end to those paddles. They're paddles. Okay, and that's okay because I looked at a lot of water wheels and there was a lot of different kinds. Okay, and this was an older kind. Yep. Okay, look at that. It's perfection. I mean, you couldn't get well, you could, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're like I said, I've made, or maybe I didn't say. I can't remember. That could have been like 3 edits ago. I made a water wheel before for the Hocus Pocus house I did. And it was very difficult and it didn't turn out great. And this time I decided I was going to make it better. And so I think I did a pretty good job. I don't remember why I had to tell you that. But it was important to tell you that I did a better job the second time around. Yep. It looks good. Oh, but what I should have done was probably paint it, like the internals before I put... It doesn't matter. It's fine. It all worked out in the end, okay? Now we're putting our outside trim on. And because I already have my windows on there, I pre-painted my trim pieces because I am smart like that. And see, this is what I'm talking about, guys. This was awful to paint. This took like hours. I see? Yeah, I wouldn't do that to you, okay? It's done. All right? It's done. We're moving on. All right, now that all of our paint is dry, we're going to do some dry brushing so we can get all that texture to pop. Yeah, see? That's what we're doing. So we're just using a lighter brown. Yeah, a lighter brown. And we're just kind of dry brushing it right over the top. Yeah. If you're not familiar with dry brushing, you basically make sure that your brush is dry. And you take very little paint and you brush it. And It's called dry brushing. Okay, we're done. All right, so we're gonna move on, and now we're gonna make a floor. This is going to be the floor for the, I think second floor. It's the second floor. Okay, all right, that's what we're gonna go with. Second floor right here. We're painting it. Yeah, we're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna dry brush it again. Well, this will be the first time. Anyways, we're dry brushing it. All right, and we're adding like a gray because we want to age it, you know. And if you want to age something, dry brush with gray, okay? Because it ages it. Yep. I mean, gray is an aged color, like gray. Anyways, so that's what we're doing here. Yeah, looks great. That water wheel. I am so proud of that water wheel. It's beautiful. Everything's dry brushed. Look, now we're going to glue things together. And we're using hot glue because I'm incredibly impatient. And that's fine. And I even I accounted for the edges. And you guys can't really see, but I cut away the foam so that the edges would fit properly with the, you know, because I'm a professional. It's kind of like beveling, but it's not beveling, okay? Because, well, it is kind of like beveling. We're going to call it beveling. Today, we're going to call that beveling, okay? All right, so this is, you know, it's self-explanatory. I'm just gluing stuff together, okay? All right, yep, looks great. Okay, moving on. Oh, these are the tiny things that I made that I don't have. I mean, I have the video, but I don't have room for it. That's a sofa. It's like a futon. It's a futon, okay? And the other one is it's a bed. It's a single bed. One person lives here. One person. Well, maybe somebody sleeps on the futon, and somebody sleeps in the bed. Okay, that could be it. That's a dresser with books. Yep. Yeah, it looks great. Tiny things. I like tiny things. There's a ladder because we're old school. We have a ladder that takes us to the third floor. It would be the third floor. Yeah. So there's the ladder, and then there's a stove in the corner too. You can't really see it, but it's there. You got to heat the house somehow, right? And so, the devil lights. I hate these lights. I have a love-hate relationship with these lights, okay? I love how bright they are and how you can really manipulate them and put them where you want them, and they're amazing in that aspect. But I hate installing them. I hate putting them in. It sucks. And again, I put far too little lights on that first floor. I should have, but you know, whatever. We win some and we lose some. Yeah, so we're gluing that on there. I'm going to feed those lights through so we can put them on the third floor, which is going to be our kitchen. And I built tiny things for the kitchen too, but again, you're really not going to see any of that. Just know that it's a kitchen, okay? And it's cool stuff. There's a stove in that, and then I even made like a little kitchen sink. Feels so wasted now because I can't show you the video, but if you pause it like right there and you look real closely, you can see some cool things that I made. Yep. Now we're going to wrap those lights around, and we're going to keep wrapping, and then we're going to run out of room, and then we're just going to get really, really impatient eventually. You'll see. And just shove them in there. Just going to shove, and this is really blurry. I don't know why. Perhaps the lights were just a bit too bright. And so we put those wood chunks on there, and then we put some of that super thick cardstock paper down to, be like the roof. And we use tape to seal those cracks and edges. We don't want any light filtering through because that would look dumb. And now we're going to go ahead and go back, and we're going to paint all of our cardboard. And it's a dark brown. Good base. Look, yep, looking great. Okay, now we're going to move on. Oh, so I wanted to cover the entire outside of the second and third floor with wood. But I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to do like a stain. No, not a stain. Like a dye. I'm dyeing the wood. So I textured everything, cut it all, and I made some super thinned out acrylic water wash. Okay? And then I just went through and soaked them all and put them on paper towels and let them dry. And they ended up turning out a lot lighter than I expected. But you'd think they dry brown because they look brown. But they didn't. They dried like a gray brown, mostly gray. But I liked it because it looked old, okay? So I was happy with it. So now we're just going through the process of cutting and gluing all these chunks on there. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And I'm using hot glue once again because I'm incredibly impatient. And you know what? It's just so much faster. You know, it just is. Okay. And I like the look of the dyed wood, we're going to call it, or the washed wood. I don't know what you want to call it, because it's all so different. Like it's not like each piece is unique, right? And that's more realistic to what it would really look like weathered outside there in like the real world. Okay. Yeah. Real world weathering. That's hard to say. It is. Yeah. Oh, and then we added these little things to the underneath because they're structural. They serve a structural purpose. I don't know what, I mean, I guess to make sure that it doesn't collapse. Yeah. And yeah, we're just moving right along here. Don't really know what else to say. Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. And that's all balsa wood. I don't know if I told you that. But yeah, soft balsa wood. I love the color of washed out soft balsa. Yep. See, it looks great. Now I'm trimming everything out, trimming it out. That trim was a little thick. Should have been a little bit thinner, but I was being lazy. I really just wanted to skip ahead and do the landscape. I was really excited about the landscape. Now we're building the doors in place because it just seemed quicker. Yeah, it just seemed easier. So I stuck those other two little pieces in there, and then I just kind of measured those guys out and stuck them on there. And later I do go back and add like a little bit more detail to the doors because I felt like they were boring. And I didn't forget door handles this time. You guys should be proud. And now I'm just kind of randomly putting down little chunks of wood to cover up my ugly seams. Yeah. And we're going to do the roof now. We're moving along nicely. Yep. Adding that roof. And I did, I made a chimney. I didn't show you the chimney, but I did make one. And I made it out of foam. And then I did the whole stone thing on it, and I Mod Podged it, and then I painted it, and then I glued it on. And then I finished off the roof. That's what I did. Yeah, looks great. Base time. Base time. This is the part I was excited about. And it was also the most challenging because I knew what I wanted. Like I had the idea in my head, okay? And it was going to be lots of different layers of foam. And here's that amazing foam cutter I have. Yeah. And I'm just willy-nilly cutting the river. It's going to be the river. That's the river. Yeah, I'm cutting that out using that. And you got to wear a mask because those the fumes, the foam fumes are bad. They're bad. So as you can see, many layers. Had to plan things out, know where my battery box was going to go for my lights, know where the house was going to go. Yeah. So I got it to this point, you know, where I could kind of sort of see it coming together. And then I just started to, you know, second guess myself, like big time. And I stared at it a lot. And then realized, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. Whatever. Okay. I'm just, sometimes you just got to do that. You just got to say, you know what, it is going to be what it is. And I'm just going to go for it. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. And a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll stare at things and try to overthink them. Mainly because I'm videoing it, you know, and I want things to look fluid. I want it to look like I know what I'm doing. The truth is, I am just flying by the seat of my pants. All right. That's the truth. Okay. Flying by the seat of my pants, going with the flow, whatever you want to call it. And that's why I screw up a lot, because I don't think things through. And that's okay, because that's the best way to learn. Okay. So I'm telling you, you don't have to be perfect. Okay. Just go for it. All right. Just go for it. Yeah. So here we are. We went for it. We're going for it. And I regret nothing. Okay. I regret nothing. It's coming together. It looks cool. I like it. I'm like, okay, yes, it's time. We're going to start putting down the, what's that stuff called? It's not plaster of Paris. No, it's the other stuff. It's the Sculptamold. Thank you. It's Sculptamold. So we're going to start throwing down some Sculptamold. And I made these teeny tiny little stone steps, okay? Because I wanted to create like this spiral stone step staircase thing. Say that fast. Spiral stone step staircase. I did it. Anyway, so we're going to create that. And we're using that, you know, Sculptamold to just kind of put it all in place, right? Yeah. And this was a problem. Okay. So I needed to have this piping system to where the water was going to flow through so that it would go down the water wheel, blah, 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 blah. Things were not lining up. Just trust me, the pipe did not go through the way it was supposed to. So I had to add a whole nother layer of foam, which means I'm going to have 3 waterfalls instead of 2, which is fine. Okay. I was looking forward to waterfalls, but it still made things harder. Okay. So we're adding some more Sculptamold. We kind of got you see the pipe there? I wanted the pipe to look legit. I wanted it to look like it was water that was being fed from the river. Yes. And that's just a straw that I cut up. A straw I cut up and I painted it. And I didn't show you that because it was one of the million things that I had to edit out. Now we're using bark. Guys, I'm sorry. It's going fast. But I like to use bark for stones. If you're wondering why I'm hot gluing bark down, that's if they're going to be stones. Okay? They just are an incredible texture for stones. I have not found a better way to do it. I will say that I have a lot of bark because we cut our own firewood. So, that's kind of why it works for me. May not work for everybody, and that's fine. Okay, but if you can get your hands on some bark, try it, because you'll never do any other stone texture ever again. Well, you might, but whatever. So yeah, hot glue all that stuff down. Looks great. I'm showing you these stairs that I absolutely destroyed. Like I was trying to cut some stairs in. It didn't go well, so I just cut the whole thing out and I remade them. I remade them this way because it was easier and I could cut it better. And they actually looked like steps. See? Looks like steps. Yep. Looks great. So I went ahead and I added some stone texture to it. I'm throwing some Mod Podge down now to hold it together. And I end up Mod Podging my steps too. Yep. Get that Mod Podge on there. Glue that sucker in. Call it good. All right. Looks great. Way better than it did. Now we're going to go back to our Sculptamold, which is a process. It takes a lot of time to do this. And you don't want to cover up your bark because you want that bark, you want all that texture of the bark. So you're just trying to make it look fluid, like it's all, one piece of ground. Yep, I don't really know what else to say. Okay, Sculptamold, some more Sculptamold. Look at that. Looks great. Just meshing it now. It looks like a hill. It doesn't look like a bunch of chunks of foam glued together. It looks like a hill. And then here, well, I decided randomly that this area needed to be deeper. It just, there needed to be a hole there, like a fishing hole. I decided to make a fishing hole, okay? Because then I decided I was going to make fish, which I'll show you later. It was a whole thing. And they're homemade fish. Now I'm going to plaster of Paris. Now I mainly use this plaster of Paris along the riverbed. Anywhere I'm going to add resin, is where I put the plaster of Paris because it just kind of seals it up good and tight because you can't have that resin leaking through to your foam because it will just melt it. It'll melt the foam. So, and my plaster of Paris has a little paint and a little dirt in there. I add a little dirt for texture. Okay. It turns out great. Yeah. And I did add a little paint to make it even more dirt colored. So there's that. Oh, and I painted it because it needed to be done and it's all brown. And now we're going to Mod Podge and dirt. More dirt. We're going to Mod Podge our ground now and we're going to add the dirt. That's what we're doing. Yep. Just use a little paintbrush to get all the nooks and crannies and, normally I would use a cup with nylons over the top of it, and just sprinkle it everywhere. And then I would shake it off to get, the excess dirt off. But I decided to just do it this way instead because I usually make a really big mess when I do it that way. See, this is the nylon part. Yep. And I just do it in the big wide open areas. The rest of it, I use this little tool. I don't even know what it is. It's like a spatula. Maybe it's a stir stick. I don't know where it came from, but it's handy. It works great. And then you just, you shake off the excess, which if I had done the nylon trick, it would have been everywhere. But, now we're going to add larger chunks of dirt because they're going to be rocks. And I'm going to add that all over the riverbed because we're going to have, it's a rocky, riverbeds are rocky. Okay, so we're going to add that all. Yep, we're going to do that everywhere. And all up the waterfall as well. I don't know if I show you all of it. But yeah, and then the trick to using dirt for rocks is you add a lot of glue. And you do the alcohol first, and then you do the glue, the watered down glue over the top of it, and it turns it into stone, legit. Yeah. Added some above, on the ground as well, here and there, just try to be random, which is hard to do. See, look how good those rocks turned out now that they're all painted. Don't they look good? I mean, wait till I dry brush them, y'all. That's when it all really comes together. See all that glue? It's all, now you got to wait like a long time for it to dry. So we set that aside, and we're going to start putting together all of our little pieces. So this is that straw. See the straw? I cut it earlier and I made the pipes out of it. The pipes. Anyways, so I cut it in half again, the other way. Now I'm using UV resin to glue it together. Yay, it looks great. Now we're going to paint it. Start with a super dark brown, and then once that's dry, we're gonna go back over it, and we're gonna like dab dry brush. It's kind of like wet brushing, actually. It's more wet than dry, and I'm just using a lot of different rust colors. Yeah, and now this is gonna be like the structure that the water piping goes in, that helps it feed into the water wheel, hydro. Guys, I don't know the names of any of this stuff if you haven't figured that out. I'm legit making this stuff up as I go, okay? So glue that sucker on there. It looks great. And then I got really excited about adding all these little chunks of wood, and I was like, oh yeah, this looks cool. And I just kept on adding more wood. And then I realized that I hadn't done the resin yet, and I wanted it to look like there was water flowing through, so that was a pain. But I got it in there. Yeah, I love that UV resin stuff. It's amazing. See, look, it looks like there's water. There's water in there, and I love the stain or the rust color coming through there too. I like it. Yeah, looks great. Okay, so now I realized that I forgot to dry brush my stones for the base. So I decided I better go do that because I needed to continue to build on, and I can't do that if those aren't done. So I decided to take the opportunity to also paint all of my rocks. My dirt turned to stone. They're now rocks. So I paint them actually like a dark gray. I think that was a dark gray, but I can't be certain. Can't remember. Now we're going to paint our riverbed too, and we're using a lot of burnt sienna, a little yellow ochre, and yeah, I live in Montana, and I spend a lot of time at the river, and I love the natural colors of the riverbed. I didn't want to just make it boring and then pour resin. I wanted those colors underneath the river to pop. And you can fake depth with color, okay? You can fake it. That's what doesn't matter, okay? I'm just trying to blend everything together. I'm doing like a green, yellow ochre in the center, and we're doing a little bit of my favorite color, turquoise. And yeah, turned out great, okay? We're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna move on. Yep, we glued that sucker in. That happened. Now, as you can't really see, that pipe that comes out of the ground, I'm making it look like there's water coming out of it, all right, with a little UV resin. And now we're adding this part, which was really hard. I had to put that stick under the water wheel just to hold it in place so I could glue all the pieces on. Yeah, gluing everything on now, using hot glue, because I'm not going to wait for it to dry. I need to keep moving. Yep. So we got those main chunks, and then I always go back over wherever I may have cut with a little bit of paint, so that you don't have raw wood poking out here and there. And now I'm just adding some stabilizing beams. That sounds smart. And then some more like a wash. It's like a acrylic wash to kind of make the wood look wet. Yeah, and I know my wheel is turning, but it won't be once the resin gets poured, okay? I mean, it would be cool to have an actual working wheel, right? But then I wouldn't have been able to do resin. So, yeah, all right? So we're adding more beams for more stabilization. Stabilize, and then add a little bit more dirt to just like concrete those suckers in. And now what are we doing? We're dry brushing the stones. Yep, we're going to go back through, dry brush everything. All of our rocks, all of our stones, our riverbed. Yeah, and this is when these, yeah, look at that. Look at the bark come together as stone and rock and river. It looks amazing. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, okay? I'm just telling you that it's bark is where it's at, guys. If you want cool rocks, bark. All right? And I'm pretty sure you can get it just about. Well, maybe you can't. I don't know where would you buy bark? You could order it off Amazon. You can get anything on Amazon. And maybe I'll look for a link. Maybe I'll put it in the description so you can buy some bark. Okay? Unless you live in, you know, a woodsy area, just go out and steal some bark. Okay, well, maybe don't steal it. I don't. Anyways, we're still dry brushing and I think it looks great. Moving right along. Yep. Look at it come together. Yep. I'm showing it off now. All the dry brushing is complete. Now, what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to randomly jump over and add doorknobs. I don't know why. Just feels like the right time. And I always forget the doorknobs. So I guess I was excited to show you that I didn't forget. Oh, and I added some detail to the doors, as you can see. They were boring before. Now we're going to add some grass, like the first layer of grass. Blended turf, woodland scenics, 2 different colors. It's the dark green with the little yellow specks, and then I use the earth tone color, which I think is supposed to be like orange leaves and stuff. I mix it all together because I like how it all looks together mixed. So... and then I very carefully went around and added it. I didn't just shaker style it on there because otherwise it'll get in all of your rocks and corridors, and I haven't poured resin yet. And then, you know, it's just really hard to get out once it's in. So I try to be really careful when I'm adding this layer of grass. And honestly, I probably should have poured the resin first, but I was still waiting for the paint to dry, so I couldn't. So I decided to do this. You know, no time is wasted. Can't waste time. You just keep moving, okay? I'm really good at multitasking. Now we're going to add some dirt and make sure that looks legit. Yep, it looks legit. Yep, it's like a little walkway. And, you know, when I first came up with the design, I forgot, guys. I started the porch and I didn't realize that the camera had stopped working. I apologize. I'm sorry, okay? But... I didn't really get that far. Like, I'm just now, I got the first beams in place, and then, of course, you know, the first part of the porch done, and now we're adding stabilization beams, and I know that's not what the braces. Bracing? We're adding bracing. And then that first piece, I ended up ripping that off there, because I changed my mind. And it's okay to change your mind. It's fine. You can change your mind. It's your build. You can do whatever you want. If you want to change your mind, that's fine. It's okay. So, anyways, yeah, so here we are. I don't know what I was saying before. The little walkway that by the water wheel. I didn't think about how close that was going to be to the water wheel. And yeah, anybody who's walking, you know, is going to get wet, but it is what it is. So here we decided, you know, there's room. Why not add a dock? Yeah, there should be a dock. There's going to be fish, so there should be a dock so you can either catch the fish or look at the fish, you know? It's important. I like docks. And I had a lot of dyed wood left over, so we needed to use it. Now, we're going to work on our covered porch area for our top floor. Every door gets a covered porch. Every door. Yep. Every one of them. Can't leave anybody out. We're going to have a covered porch everywhere. And we're just hot gluing those beams in there. And then we're just going to, you know, willy-nilly slap some wood down. Yep. Yeah, see? Covered porch. Fantastic. Done. All right? That's like the easiest way to do it. Like, I could have overthought the crap out of this, but instead I just started gluing things together. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You just got to go for it. And yeah, it could look better, but I don't care. I don't. Fantastic. Moving on. Oh, we got to add some railings. So high up there, you can't be falling off, you know, because that would suck if you fell. So beams for safety. Beams for safety. Yep. And I can tell you that it's very hard to get all your little beams the same size. I make it look easy, but it's not. It's really not, you know, and it's a little wonky. All right, so we need a ladder. Yep, a ladder, because we need a way to get up to our house. You know, you got to climb up, which, you know, honestly, I wish I had thought the whole ladder situation through a little bit better, but it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be hard to haul your groceries up, you know, and your firewood, but it's fine. You do what you got to do, okay? So UV resin, put it on some plastic, dried it out, and now I'm going to use it to look like it's like moving water, you know, like it's dripping. And then, yeah, use your little UV light and get it on there. And I think I added a lot more to that side, but, you know, got to make cuts. Yep, and the back side too. So it looks like there's water dripping. Oh, we're getting ready to pour some resin. So we're going to hot glue our acrylic sheets on there. And really, there's no other way to do it. Acrylic sheets is like the only way to go, guys. They come off super easy. Super easy. And I just use hot glue to put them in place. Lots of hot glue. Sometimes a little too much hot glue, but whatever. It's fine. And yep, get all that on there. All your seams glued down. Can't have any leaks. And then this part, I tried to cut chunks out that would, each part of the waterfall needs to be glued off, because you got to pour resin and you can't, you guys understand, right? Do I have to explain this? Like, it's hard to explain. Like, I had to have each area blocked off so that I could fill each spot with resin. So I glued those little acrylic things on there with hot glue. And I knew that when I pulled them off, there would be some damage, but I figured, you know, I could just fix it. You know, this is one of those, I'm just going to go for it. Okay. Yep. So it's, some resin there. I think it's Dr. Epoxy. I don't remember what it's called. I should look that up. But I do just a very small pour to begin with. I do my pours in multiple layers. The first layer is the most important because it's going to seal up all of the holes. So you're not going to end up with a million bajillion bubbles everywhere. So I just do a very teeny tiny pour over the top to seal up all of my little tiny spots, just like that. Yep. Pop some bubbles if there's some bubbles. Oh, here's my fish. So that first layer is dried, and now I'm gonna, and I made those fish. You guys are gonna laugh how I made them because I don't have a 3D printer. I don't 3D print things. I cut them out of foam, and then I plaster of Paris over the top of them, and then I painted them. That's how I did it. Yep. And they're not perfect by any means, but you know what? They do the job. Okay. So I UV resin those down, and now I'm pouring another layer of resin in all of my spots. Now that all of those holes and bubbles have been taken care of, second layer of resin there. Yep. And now I'm gonna start ripping. Yeah, see? Now I could have been smarter about this and used a hot the hot blowgun thing, the blow hot whatever. I could have warmed up the glue, and I probably would not have damaged so many things, but it's okay. You live and you learn, all right? And I was prepared to fix it, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just, all the parts that ripped things off, I'm just gonna go back and touch things up. Yep. And you can see now I have these sharp drop-offs for my waterfalls, which I'm going to fix. I'm going to fix that. Yep, I'm showing you right now. I'm gonna start with some UV resin. I'm gonna add a little of that there. And yep, I'm gonna add that there. And then what I did, I wish I could pause, but I can't. So whatever resin I had left over when I did my pours, I poured it on some plastic. I let it dry overnight. And they're just like these little thin sheets, and they look like splashy water bits, okay? And I have a lot of them, and I should have showed you that, but I cut it out because I had to make cuts. And so now I'm literally just bending them and gluing them on there, well, UV resining them on there, in multiple layers. It's really hard to explain. But yeah, you see, it's like a little wave thing. I resin it on there. I UV light it, and then I just keep adding layers of these over the top. Layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and lots of layers, and then more UV resin. And you know, I just kind of went for it. Yep. Yeah, and you'll see, it turns out pretty good. It's a little fuzzy right here, so it's hard to see. And I don't show you all of the layers that I add, but trust me, you need a lot of layers. So you got to make a lot of these things if you're going to do some waterfalls, okay? Look how great it turned out. Looks great. Looks legit, right? Shiny waterfall. Pretty. Now we're doing one more layer of resin down there on the bottom because my fish tails were still poking up, and we couldn't have that. See? Hot air thing. What is it called? A heat gun. Oh my God. It's a heat gun. I'm just warming it up. And look how easy that acrylic pulls off of there. And I saw somebody else do this and realized that I am an idiot because I should have been doing this all along instead of making the giant mess that I usually do. I mean, look how, oh, it's so nice. It just pulls, it's like really satisfying to watch. Just pulls away just like that. Yep. Do that next time. Note to self. Do that next time. Okay, here's the ladder. This is the only way to get up to the first floor. We're calling it the first floor, but it's really the second floor. Because there's no dwelling down below. It's all for the hydroelectricity. It's got a bunch of pumps and stuff inside. I don't know. I don't know what makes hydroelectricity work, but whatever makes it work is inside that stone building, and there's no stairs to get upstairs. So we had to build a very large ladder for the outside, okay? Now we're obviously adding more bushes. And I start with hot glue. You know why. Yeah. These are the clump foliage from Woodland Scenics. I love the stuff. I really do. So I add a bunch of that down now. I made one tree. Guys, I didn't show you the tree. You know why I didn't show you the tree, but I made one tree. Because I have to have at least one tree in almost all of my builds. It's a thing. I don't know why. ADHD maybe? OCD? Whatever. Now we're going back over with some alcohol and watered down Mod Podge to concrete those bushes. And then I'm using whatever I just showed you. And they're supposed to be trees, but I don't like them as trees, so I break them and I make them into bushes. Or taller bushes. Or tiny trees. I don't care. You call it what you want it, okay? Looks great. We're getting close to done. Okay, so I added a couple little details. Honestly, I could have added so much more. A pile of firewood. Yeah. And because I was so worried about getting groceries to the top floor, I added a lift. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I didn't add... Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to add the foam to the... foam. Because there's foam on waterfalls. You know, when the... Anyways, it's self-explanatory. It's spackling compound, and I use it, and it looks like foam. It looks great. Now I'm going to add some glossy Mod Podge right over the top of all of that, even the foam. Yep, because I want the foam to be glossy as well. You have to wait for your foam to dry. Your spackling compound. You wait for that to dry, then you cover everything in Mod Podge. Lots of Mod Podge. The glossy kind, because it's going to make the water look. You guys know what I'm talking about. This ain't your first rodeo. And you use the straw. Yep, right there, and you blow it around and it looks like water ripples. Yeah. Well, this is 101, basic 101 Mod Podge water. Yes. Look at that. Looks great. We did it everywhere. Oh, and decided that my building was too boring. So I decided to go back over it with a dirty wash and just add a little bit more weathering and age. Weathering and age, that's what we're doing. And I'm just taking a real wet brush, watered down acrylic, and then I go back over it with a dry brush. And I spread it around a bit. Yeah. Just put the wet stuff and then dry brush, spread. It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. And so, yep, look, yeah, it looks great. I think I may have gone a little too far in some areas. I always do that, but it looked too nice to me. It didn't look old enough. So that's, this is why I did that. Looks great. And like I said about the details earlier, I could have added a lot more, but I was so out of time. Okay? So I really hope you guys like this, though. I mean, I really like it. I love the waterfalls. That's mainly what I wanted to do, was make waterfalls, but you can't just do waterfalls. You have to have a building and a whole concept behind it. And you know me and survival shelters. Oh, we're done. Okay, beauty shots. I'm going to let you enjoy this, okay? I'll be back. That's it. It's done. It's complete. Thank you. Thank you for existing. All of you. I'm just thankful that you exist, that you watch me, that you like to watch this stuff, and that you subscribe, and that you like it, and that you comment. I just appreciate all of you. Thank you for existing and taking the time out of your busy lives to be here. So, until next time, okay? Bye, guys.